Finally, I'm done with this old Zenith 7S682. It's late. It's Monday night. It's actually quite late, and I just wanted to get this thing wrapped up and on video and have the whole thing in the archives before I went to bed tonight. So this is it. Now this cabinet I did not refinish. You won't see too many cabinets that I refinish until I get around to getting my own stuff done. And right now I have a whole bunch of customer radios that I'm trying to get done. When those are done, I've really backed off on my little side business because it's wearing me out. And I'll be doing all my own radios. And then I'll start showing off some of the cabinets that I do. For right now, cabinets take me a lot longer than they take a pro. So I just have the customers go to somebody else when it comes to cabinets. This one is actually in really good condition, and you know, I would lacquer it if it were me, but you know what? It looks really pretty the way it is. And so I'll show off this cabinet a little bit. This customer has been waiting quite some time. I've had some family health issues that came up that slowed down a lot of my jobs. So this guy's been waiting since February on this radio. But I'm finally going to get it back to him this week. He did not want the escutcheon to be refinished in any way. And I agree with him. I would rather have one that isn't perfect than one that's been refinished, because it removes patina, it removes history. Those are battle scars. Every little mark is a battle scar, and I kind of like to leave them. So I'm glad this escutcheon is the way it is. Now, as I mentioned when I did the opening video for this one, this is a record player. And so let me show you. You've seen me work on this record player, but let me show it to you now. There we go. There is that really simple record player installed in the cabinet. Like I said many times in this video series, that this is not a new an original record player, but it works. It still works pretty well. All right, so what I'm going to do now is close this and try to do this without messing up the video too much. And I'll go ahead and turn this bugger on. Now this thing makes my fluorescent lights. I have fluorescent lights all over in my shop, and they about drive me crazy. So let me pause this. I'll unplug the lights and I'll turn it on. It won't be quite as brightly lit when I do that, but I'll turn it on. You'll be able to hear it without the noise from the lights. Okay, there we go. I'll go ahead and turn this bugger on. My radios always take just a little bit longer than usual to warm up, because I always put a thermistor in line, as well as a power resistor, a voltage dropping resistor. This one wound up being a 35 ohm, 25 watt resistor, which more than sufficiently covers what I need, and it dropped the voltage right down to about 116, which was about perfect. Okay, here we go. There's still a little bit of buzzing because I still have some fluorescent lights on in part of my shop. So, well. Anyway, those fluorescent lights are going, and these are cheap Chinese fluorescent lights, and they just make tons of noise.
Off of both Christian ministers and Old Testament, I'll be able to see my child again.
I'm going to turn those lights off. Well, that helped some. Let me tune around a little bit. That speaker cloth is what came with it when I took on the radio, and it looks really good.
me who it is. Please point the person out specifically. Asshole. You love your family, you gotta go in and get those important medical screens. A lot of potentially deadly disease.
For Buffalo, this is West One's coverage.
And there's my favorite station once again. 1370 KSOP, Salt Lake City. Cool, classic country station. That's where I get my Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton fix every now and then. I just tune that in, and it isn't long before I pick up a tune or two from each of those ladies.
Advocates and defends Obamacare. That's the fact. So if you know Obamacare to be the disaster it is...
Oh, won't you be happy when all this election nonsense is over?
Save even more. Yes, fly anywhere in the world and save on.
So we have a couple of really cool Mexican stations at one end of the dial here in Salt Lake. And I don't speak Spanish, but I'll tell you something. I like listening to them because sometimes it's nice not to understand the words. Sometimes it's nice just to kind of groove to the music. And the cool thing is I love Mexican food. It's my favorite food in the whole world. Mexican and German food. I love both of those. And when I listen to the Mexican stations, it makes me hungry. So I usually wind up running out and grabbing a bite or something after I've listened long enough, because they're always playing the same music in the Mexican restaurants I go to. Well, that's really nice. And what's really cool is Mexican music seems to respect the traditions of the music a lot more than American pop music does. So I really kind of dig it. Let me mess with the tone a bit. So that sounds pretty decent.
Our home furnishing should be a reflection of lsconsumeraccess.org.
Okay, let's maybe do some record player action here. I'm going to pause it for a second. I'm going to get out the record that I was playing when I first tested the record player, the Carpenters, and I'll throw that on, and we'll see how it sounds. Okay, I'll go ahead and turn this puppy on. Oh, wait a minute, I guess it's not a 45. Put it on 33. Now, you already saw this thing demonstrated the other night, so I'm not going to go through that whole rigmarole. I will put the record on, though. I got something on the record, I think. All right, let me show you something. It seems that it still wants to jump a little on the record, and I was concerned that that tone arm was light. I weighed this capacitor. It weighs about a gram. And when I add about a gram to the tracking force on this, it seems to work perfectly. So I'm going to continue with this demonstration because I want it to be done. But I wanted to show you what I'm going to have to do. I'll just take some adhesive and put another washer inside there, and that should take care of it for me. But, you know, sometimes you have to tinker with these things. Sometimes they work well in one situation and not in another. So my floor, it's my shop I'm in right now. See, it's really sensitive. It's really sensitive. So what I'm going to do is add that, and that should take care of it. To be honest with you, I've spent a lot more time on this machine than I ever expected to, and I'm getting actually worn out from it. So I'm just going to do that one after I'm done with all this other stuff. I think I've demonstrated that it's going to work okay. I just need to tweak on that weight, on that tracking force. But other than that, let me show you a little bit of the back side of this thing. And I'll put some light back on, and I'll come right back. All right, here we are in the back of the radio. You see the chassis up there, and you see the wave magnet antenna. And it's pretty standard fare. There's that RCA plug that I made to use as the record connector. It's working really well. There we have the chassis. There's the record player. I mounted it on some gum rubber grommets as a type of small suspension. They just add a little bit. These things are so sensitive because everything's rigid, and they're mounted in a kind of a compromised position anyway. And so any little bump will make these things dance on the record and will transmit noise. But then, you put so much weight on the tone arm, then you start wearing records out. So it's a real balancing act that you have to play. There are the springs for the mechanism for the record player. There's your speaker. You can see the repairs there. And, the usual cabling and so forth. This does not have an in-cabinet antenna, the loop that goes around the cabinet for shortwave. The owner could put one in if he wants to. I just run a long wire. I think that works a lot better. So, pretty nice old radio. The 1942 ZENITH 7S682. This door here has a little crack right where the screw goes in for the latch. So I'm pretty conservative about how often I use that. I'm going to warn the customer about that when he closes this door, and you'll probably see this if you have one of these radios, because that's a weak point. And, I can imagine tugging on it one too many times. With the screw in there, that's going to be where a crack starts. And there's a little button here, and you can kind of see the little catch. And when he closes it, I'm going to have him push the button and then push it closed. That's the right way to do it. So there we go. 1942 ZENITH 7S682. I think this one's a wrap. That's all for tonight.